Right, once more into the acid cave. While this won't mean that Yang joins our party again, there's no harm in making absolutely sure he's okay. It's not like we can do that for the twins, after all. I just wish I felt legitimately bad that we can't work with Yang anymore. He worked with us for some pretty major events. Both times he disappeared, it was because he was trying to do something noble. The first time, he dived into the ocean to try to rescue Rydia when Leviathan was attacking our ship. Not that he managed to accomplish something with that jump, but at least he tried. Whereas Cecile just stood in the middle of the ship and yelled out people's names when they were taken out, waiting for his own turn to be knocked unconscious in the assault. Considering he broke away from the Kingdom of Farron to protect Rydia after we'd unknowingly killed her mother and burnt her village to the ground, that felt pretty underwhelming from our central character. But again, the character writing is not much of a thing in this game. It was a new concept for game designers as a whole at this point. The other big self-sacrifice moment for Yang was... I honestly forget if he was the one to jump out of an airship while hugging a bomb, or if he was the one who walked into a cannon room and blew it up while he was still inside. Both Yang and Sid went out with a bang, and those events happened pretty close to each other. Both involved a central character being blown up due to something that Golbez had done. Both dramatic deaths that turned out to not actually be deaths, so... yeah, they're kind of mixing together for me. Oh, shit. There's no way I'm taking on two Malboros at the same time. I wouldn't feel confident going against an enemy like that, even if we were 20 levels higher. Probably shouldn't have bothered using float there. There's still a good number of chests in the dungeon that haven't been opened either, but apparently I'm in a hurry to be finished here. Again, I'm sure that was meant to be a funny moment in the game. Unfortunately, it just didn't manage to land all that well for me. Actually, I'm pretty sure he was saving the dwarves and their tanks getting blasted at the time, not us. At least not immediately. Well, it's not like you've got a choice in the matter. Your shift in this job is done. No. So much no. Yang is a better character. Yang is a lot less annoying. And Yang is very much less likely to get knocked out in the middle of a fight. There is pretty much nothing about Edge that makes him feel appealing to me. Unfortunately, we have absolutely no choice in our team at any point, and Edge will stay with us for the entire rest of the game. Sure, he can do a good amount of damage per strike, but the positives most definitely do not outweigh the negatives here. Anyway, after all that, we gained the Sylphs as a summon. I doubt I'm ever gonna use them at all. Well, no harm in gaining them. Yeah, I was in an absolute hurry to be done with that dungeon. I can't think of any other location in any other Final Fantasy game where I purposely leave behind so many damn chests that are unopened. At least none of the games I've actually completed. Technically speaking, this game doesn't have the worst dungeon designs in the franchise. I feel like that honor belongs to Final Fantasy II, but sadly enough, uninspired dungeon design was the least of my issues with that game. So as of this moment, Final Fantasy IV has the worst dungeon design of the games I have LP'd in this channel. Bit of a dubious honor, but one I hope isn't outdone at some point in the future. kind of wish there was a shortcut to Yang's wife, if only because we have to go through a lot of doors to reach her. Annoying, but it certainly could have been much worse. At least it's easier to reach her than her husband at this point, by a large degree. I'm sorry to say that the kitchen knife Sheila gave us is the absolute best weapon that Edge can ever use the command throw for. Not any shuriken or other ninja-styled weapons, but a frickin' kitchen knife, given to us by a character who isn't even connected to Edge in any way. And if you choose to go through the acid cave too late, then Yang will have woken up on his own and there will be no way for you to gain the kitchen knife at all. So the side quest that the game gives you no in-universe hints exists has an invisible timer for the best reward. Granted, it's not an actual timer as in when this many minutes have passed you failed. It's a case of, if the plot advances beyond a certain point, then the best reward for this side material will not happen. It's a bit strange, but again, this is a relatively early installment in the franchise. I mean, sure, this is the 4th game. They've been figuring a good number of things out the hard way. The series is still on the road to growing. It's better than it used to be, and there's better to come after this, which is going to make things feel pretty awkward when we finally do reach the peak of this franchise. And it's going to be just downhill from there. Though I can honestly say, at least as of when I'm working on this video, as bad as Final Fantasy will be in future installments and some of the remakes, it hasn't gotten to the point of absolute creative bankruptcy that we see from Call of Duty these days. This series might be struggling to return to the glory days of PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 era, but I can honestly say I have never seen Square Enix do anything as lazy and poorly written as 2023's Modern Warfare 3. Granted, that is an incredibly low bar. It's very easy to go above that, and it's not like Final Fantasy has had anywhere near the respect or mainstream love as it had at Final Fantasy X, a game released in 2001. And good God, I think I lost whatever train of thought I was having there, so let's get off that and try to stick with what's going on in this particular game. A game that was originally released in 1991, though we've been playing a 2011 version of the game, and occasionally wondering why they didn't do more to change the mechanics or visuals, since the PSP had to be more powerful than the Super Nintendo. Seriously, the PSP was capable of damn amazing things. In terms of processing power, it felt like it was somewhere between the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2. The PS2 was undoubtedly more powerful, but hey, for a small handheld device, that was downright amazing. And this game isn't even trying to push the limits of what the PSP can do. Okay, we're on the moon. It's pretty desolate, not really a surprise. I've rarely known moons to be especially fertile. The only exception I can think of is the moon from Star Wars Return of the Jedi. Seriously, that moon of Endor was large enough to count as a planet in itself. I'm actually kind of surprised that fiction doesn't have more moons that are just large enough to have moons of their own. Sure, it wouldn't be especially useful for a story, but then all too many stories turn planets into single biome masses that our heroes move on from all too soon, so, ugh. Oh God, what the hell are we even hearing? Whew, thank you, random flan monsters on the moon. You've interrupted that horrendous moon music. I'm pretty used to Final Fantasy music being generally pretty damn good, but that just sounded horrifically bad. Or at least that opening was. Hold on, I'm gonna take a moment to find the song online to see if I'm the only one who cringes when hearing that. Apparently, other people consider it delightfully weird. Helps convey that we're in a very strange environment compared to our usual locations. I'm pretty sure my biggest problem with it, though, is that it keeps getting interrupted and then restarting, so I never really hear the full theme at any point. Either we get a cave and get another background theme for a while, or we get a random encounter, which prompts the usual combat theme. So I'm just hearing some of the exact same notes of the opening of the Moon theme in this game over and over and over again, rarely hearing it for minutes at a time without something cutting it off. Well, we're certainly gaining plenty of experience due to these fights, that's for sure. And we're not fighting against anything that's anywhere near as bullshit as the Malboros from the Acid Cave. I'm pretty sure the enemies on the Moon are very high on the danger scale. We are pretty late in the game after all, and this is the final major map we have to explore. I certainly have to respect the fact that this game has the overworld, the underworld, and the Moon. I don't think the series ever explicitly does anything outright Moon-related again until Final Fantasy VIII. I could be misremembering, though. Good God, Edge has been taking an absolute beating since the moment he stepped foot on the surface of this place. It's like the various monsters have as much contempt for him as I do. Okay, so lightning did not do much of anything to these monsters. Considering they looked like amoeba of some kind, I was hoping that meant they counted as something aquatic. Should I have just gone for something fire-related instead of lightning? Well, physical attacks certainly seem pretty effective against those things. Maybe I should just save my MP. Definitely burning through healing spells and items in a hurry up here. It's nowhere near the same level of oh shit to deal with as the Acid Cave, but it still feels like a step or two up from what we ran into in the other bonus dungeon that led to the Feymarch. It's manageable with the tools at our disposal. It's just annoying that some of the enemies around here are essentially immune to physical attacks when Edge doesn't have enough MP to constantly throw those kinds of fireballs. And then we have the other enemies that seem to be weak to physical, but immune to magic, so Rydia kind of, ugh. I'm also pretty sure that Rosa doesn't have anything offensive that could harm the Flans, so after a point, we'd be relying entirely on Rydia to deal with this particular enemy configuration. Bloody hell. Definitely getting the sense that Rydia could easily end up spending all of her charges while we try to figure out where to go on this desolate rock. It's definitely a good thing that I've gotten into the habit of having an obscene amount of healing items, and we can do some small degree of using Cecile's mana pool for healing as well. Even just limiting Rosa to healing during battle is draining her at a slightly worrying pace, especially since we're not even in an actual dungeon just yet. We're in a cave that happens to be between dungeons. Sure, it's got treasure chests, but there are not a lot of paths hidden or otherwise. There are not a lot of separate rooms. It's just a single hallway, then you're out of the cave. I'm pretty sure the Moon is the only location in this game that pulls that sort of thing. And it's definitely a good sign that in the original release, they were certainly pushing the cartridge hard in terms of what they could and couldn't stuff into the experience. very much doubt we're ever gonna use that Stardust. At some point, I should probably just sell all the equipment we're never gonna put on ever again, either. Not that we desperately need the money for something. There's nothing left to buy in this game. Just with how long the final dungeon was in the original Final Fantasy, I'm sure the final dungeon in this game is gonna be obscenely massive as well. And it would get pretty awkward to run out of slots in our inventory for new items this far into the game. Why am I even bothering to have Rydia spend MP when she's doing so little damage per shot here? Dear God, her whip does about the same amount of damage as her spells against these weird-looking bastards. Not too sure why the second high potion didn't give Edge full health there. It's like the potions either heal some unrounded number when I feel like it should take care of 500 points of health, or the amount of healing we get from them is oddly inconsistent from one potion to the next for some reason. I'm not really sure why that would be the case, but then we're being forced to run around some especially empty ground on the moon, because for some reason the Lunar Whale airship is only allowed to land on the gray-looking surfaces. The game just plain will not let you land on the tan surface, which makes up the majority of the moon. Really wish we had an explanation for that, but there are way too many arbitrary things, so you just roll with it after a while. I also really wish that the music for the moon's surface didn't keep restarting over and over again. I just cannot stand to hear those constantly repeating, farting trumpet noises every damn time the music track resets. I don't really have much of an issue with the track as a whole, just the opening of it, which unfortunately is the part we're gonna get the most familiar with. Definitely feels like a high encounter rate on the moon. Understandable that it would be this brutal this far into the game, but still, it's hard not to feel annoyed by it. Are we going to start seeming exhausted before we even make it to one of the moon's actual dungeons, or any kind of other interesting spot? With the rate that Edge and Rydia are forced to throw spells into these lands, I wouldn't be surprised if we run out of offensive MP before we get anywhere important. I'm also getting the distinct feeling that the final party member we're gonna gain is gonna be a mage as well, since magic is very much required up here. I seriously cannot think of too many other Final Fantasy games that have this many magic users in the main cast, or at least not explicitly built for magic at the expense of physical prowess. I suppose games like Final Fantasy VII, where everyone can use magic so long as they got the right tools, don't really count. And games like 3 and 5, where you can change the classier characters, so you suddenly have a team of white mages one fight, and a full team of monks in the next without recruiting or losing anyone doesn't really count either. Son of a bitch! God damn it! Really? Not a single one of them dropped after that spell? And why does it feel like those attacks are just entirely ignoring our armor? What is even the point of Cecile wearing so much heavy armor if it's not gonna actually do anything for us against the enemies this far in? It feels like the only real thing that determines how much damage we take per hit is what row the character is in. It also feels like maybe I should have done some more grinding on the road to reach Feymarch to help make this a bit less brutal. God damn it! That fight certainly took a lot more out of us than it should have. Right, let's get Edge back on his feet before we start doling out the potions. Just how much further do we have to go before we're allowed to be in one of the moon's legitimate locations? Huh. I was expecting another fight or two before we were allowed into the next cave. Considering the background music is the same thing we'd hear when first starting up the game, and the same damn thing we heard back in the original game, I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be a pretty important place. As if the fact that it's called the Crystal Palace and magical crystals are a central part of the game's story isn't enough of a hint. Doesn't seem to be any random encounters in here, and I certainly appreciate the healing, though I'm fairly certain that we're gonna have to get off the moon and back onto the planet if we want to replenish our potion supplies at some point. Hello there. So, there is an actual population on this moon? They're just gonna sleep their way through the major disaster that's going on. I'm getting flashbacks of a Metroid Prime 2 here. Old man? Everything evolves. It's kind of a low, slow process that happens to all forms of life. And frankly, evolution is at its best when the species goes through some adversity, not when they sleep it all off. Unless you're trying to evolve into something like the Eloi from the book Time Machine, or the dodo bird. Or perhaps your idea of evolution is transcending your physical forms and becoming some kind of enlightened spirits or eldritch creatures. I'm sorry, but the explanation for what's going on here feels like total nonsense, even compared to the other things we've seen and heard in this game so far. Most of what this new old guy is saying is just right over my head here. All that's really sticking is the fact that the main villain is some kind of alien being from behind that controls Golbez somehow or another. I don't suppose the Giant of Babel is located within the Tower of Babel, is it? We've already dived into that dungeon twice in this game so far. I'm not exactly enthusiastic to go into it for a third time. I'm also not that eager to go all the way back to the planet after we finally took the step to go into space to try to stop the bad guys. So this guy was essentially Prometheus for our people, but for some reason the people on the planet don't know anything about him. and for some reason we're just introducing the idea of Cecile being the son of an alien. That might have had more of an impact if this story did more in terms of character writing. Seriously, what's the last character-related thing that Cecile has done, other than just change into a paladin? Not that there's anything inherently bad about a story where a man finds out he has different origins than he thought, just that the bare-bones story we've got here makes me wonder why I should give a shit that Cecile is half human and half Lunarian. Hell, I can barely give a damn about the name of the old man who's about to join us here. Welcome aboard! Bit of a shame that in terms of personality, I'd prefer to have Tella or Sid on our team, not this particular old man. This guy mostly exists for the sake of giving us exposition, and I'm pretty sure he'll stay on our team for the least amount of time compared to everyone else who ever joins the party. Okay, he's got a lot of attack power considering the fact that he doesn't have an especially damage-dealing weapon. I suppose we'll just have to see how he handles himself next time. I'm pretty sure it feels like this clip has gone on long enough, and it's a good time to take a break. I'm kind of hesitating to go outside again, though, since I do not like the theme we hear out there.